Okay, start recording. Okay, so we've already mentioned how we've both attempted to get KubeEdge working. Mixed results for Giovanni. I always wonder, how do I pronounce your name properly?
Giovanni.
Giovanni. Okay. I'm. It's not that hard to read out, but I'm always hesitant to say it in case I pronounce it badly.
The short one is Joe. My family calls me Joe, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
just easy.
Joe works as well. Yeah, so I've spent a few days. I've launched EC2 instances, and so I've got a master node on one EC2 instance, a worker node on another EC2 instance that appears to be able to talk to it. That's using Cilium because you have to use a CNI provider. I've learned so much stuff to try and get this stuff working. So I think, Al-Sayed, I think you were. Am I right in thinking you were here last meeting and offered your Raspberry Pi to test on?
Yeah, I did actually try to use two Raspberry Pis. One is the one on this TurtleBot, it's the Raspberry Pi 3, and I did use the Raspberry Pi 4, although with Ubuntu 22.04, which might have been one of the reasons why it didn't really work out. But I also invested quite a lot of time and got some errors. That's the one you were using.
Here's my setup. I've got an LED that I can definitely blink because I've got a Python script doing it. But I can't make it appear as an edge node in the Kubernetes network.
Exactly. So it stops for you while for me it would register as a KubeEdge node to the master node, but then it would fail in starting the what is it called? The Cilium KubeEdge instance pod that would be required. So maybe I can share the screen.
Interesting. Yeah, please go ahead. Let's see what you've got.
I'll share the screen.
For Levon, that's just joined, we are in this meeting. We're taking a look at KubeEdge, and it would be a tryout. Let's see how it works. But in this case, it's a let's show how we've not managed to get it working quite yet.
So first, I'll show the things that are not working, which is this one. Sorry, this is a watch command. I don't want to watch. I just want. So no, let's start with the setup. So kubectl get nodes. So this is the local setup that you're seeing. So this is the current machine I'm using. This is the Burger 3, the robot that I showed before. So these are the two nodes. One is the control plane, one is the agent and edge. And this one is the node I was telling you that I have trouble running on 2204 on Raspberry Pis. As a matter of fact, with the other Raspberry Pi, I tried with the Raspberry Pi 4, I did manage to make this node run, but then the multicast wasn't working. The nodes were not seeing each other. So although it went into running status here and went into ready state, it didn't really talk to the other nodes. I mean, I tried the BusyBox example that it does, and it doesn't work. Instead, I will show you. So this is the setup that doesn't work, and this is where I ended up. I can even show for the record the error that I get that is killing the thing. And I think let me just find it here. Fatal. It's this one. Failed to start daemon, creation failed, LLWire is initializing daemon, and it's complaining that tail calls are not allowed in non-JIT programs with BPF to BPF calls. So I don't even know what this is. So this is what doesn't work. Now I will show what works for me, at least. So here I have a slightly different setup. This one is instead in virtual machines. So, nodes, no. kubectl get nodes. So here again, I have not much fantasy with the naming. I have a node which is called KubeEdge test. It's a virtual machine where I'm running the control plane. And then I have another node, which is another virtual machine called KubeEdge Edge, which is actually the edge node. Okay. And here, I will do it here because I've done it here already before. Here I can run all the demos. Cilium is installed directly. So if I show the pods, for instance, kubectl get pods -a, here we can see that all the things that are supposed to be running are running. So the kube proxies, okay, then the Cilium envoy nodes. Maybe I should show it in wide mode so that we see it is running where. So Cilium envoy node for each node. Then I have the Cilium node proper, the Cilium agent, and then I have the specially modified Cilium agent running on the KubeEdge edge node. And indeed, in this setup, it does what it's supposed to do. So for instance, Tomoya has an example here with this BusyBox YAML, which basically creates a daemon set, which means a pod for each of the nodes of your cluster, where it runs a BusyBox container. So I'll launch this one, kubectl apply, -f BusyBox YAML. So now it will have created the pods -o wide. It will have created the two containers with BusyBox. One is on the edge node, one is on the master node. And if I connect one of them, exec -it, this guy, for instance, shell. So now I'm inside this container here, and I can ping the other virtual IP of the other pod, and vice versa would also work.
Is that pod running on the master?
Yes, this is the one. From the one running on the edge, I can ping the one running on the master, which has this IP address here. So this works quite okay, and that's fine. And then the other thing I tried, which is actually what I wanted to set up, is more of a robotics setup. So Tomoya has this example, which is called ROS2 sample here. And in this ROS2 sample, he has basically, well, I'll start from his examples. He has 6 pods, 3 are talkers, talking on talker 1 talks on topic chatter 1, publisher 2 talks on topic chatter 2, and 3 they talk on topic chatter 3, and then there's 3 talkers and 3 listeners. And his example, we can deploy it, apply ROS2 sample.yaml. So now we can show all the pods running. So in his example, by default, he doesn't have he doesn't select on which nodes he wants to run things. So since my master node is much larger resource-wise than my edge node, the Kubernetes schedules them all in the same place. So it's not really very interesting because they're all local to the same machine. But you can indeed, for instance, get to one listener, look at the logs. If we go to the listener 1, for instance, and we look at the logs, we see talker 1 sending data. But this is relatively uninteresting. And instead, what is a bit more interesting, I changed slightly his example. So I have an example that is called ROS2 sample TOF. And what I did was basically constrain the talkers to be talker 1 is on an edge node, and talker 3 will also, no, not Docker 3, somewhere else I've also put it, well, we will see it, it's written somewhere, here. Listener 2 is also on one of the edge nodes. So bottom line, if I redo now this apply thing, if I redo this apply thing now, and then we do, we look at what's running where, you see that we have the listener 1 on the master node, listener 2 on the edge node, listener 3 on the master node, and then we have talker 1 on the edge node. So basically, topic 1 goes from the edge node to the master node. Topic 2 goes from the master node to the edge node. And topic 3 is like before, just inside the master node itself. And all these things actually do work. So if we now log listener 1, which is the communication from the edge node to the master node, we do see the topics coming. If we do try the other way around, so listener 2, which is topic 2, is the talker on the master node going to the edge, we do see the topic coming, and I showed it before already, the communication within the same node. So this is what I managed to get running, which wasn't overly exciting, to be honest, and it took also quite a lot of time, and it took quite some extra steps that I was not expecting to do. I guess I can stop sharing my screen now, unless you want me to show something else, Mike.
I thought for the others in the call, we can give a quick recap of what we're trying to investigate. But then, yeah, I might have some questions about how your cluster's set up, but it might also be easier to show you what I tried to do on mine, and you tell me what's wrong, but we'll figure it out. So
I'll try. I'm not sure I'm able to help.
So to anyone watching the video or to others in the call, what we're trying to do is explore KubeEdge. This is a third-party add-on, I guess you'd call it, to Kubernetes, where Kubernetes, you can schedule pods and Docker containers and so on to be run, and it abstracts away where those containers are run. You can use it for things like running a website, except that different containers to handle the traffic go on different machines, and you can scale up or scale down, and Kubernetes handles it for you. So KubeEdge is an add-on that instead of just everything being in the cloud, you can have edge devices like a Raspberry Pi, and then you can run containers on those as well. They can be nodes in the Kubernetes network. This is potentially useful to us as cloud roboticists because it means that we can use that system to deploy and run robotics applications on edge nodes, that is our robots that are on different networks. So we had Tomoya, who is I think the lead author. He came and talked to us about it and about Cilium, which support for which is coming. So we decided to try it out and see what we could get working, and that was just what Giovanni was showing us. He managed to, on the same machine, but with different containers, managed to get them talking in the way that they're supposed to, but couldn't get a Raspberry Pi on a different network talking. So the actual edge capability is still unknown to us. We still haven't got that working. Yeah. I've been trying a lot and also not managed to get mine working.
I got it working on different machines, but in the same subnet, indeed, not in different subnets. I don't know why it didn't work out.
Yeah. So any questions on that before I talk about what I managed to get done? Take that to the side. Was that a hand raise? Oh no, thumbs up, so carry on, I think. Okay, so what I tried to do is set up using Amazon EC2 instances from scratch. So let me, I think all of my tabs are to do with Kubernetes and KubeEdge. So let me share my screen and I'll show you what I've been trying to do. Window instances. Okay, so I'm pretty new to Kubernetes, so I was learning as I went the proper construction of a network. I happen to know that Minikube is a way of getting a starter network up and running, and I tried with Minikube and couldn't get it working. So I tried to go through KubeAdmin, which is another way that you can set up a network, which is a little bit more involved, but is actually more of a production-ready network. And I finally have that running, but not talking to the edge node. So if I grab my notes up here, I just wanted to try one last attempt at initializing the network. So if I do that instead.
We're only seeing your browser, Michael.
Yes, let me switch that over. Send something else. Window, this is probably going to look weird because of the size. Actually, that works out quite nicely for font size for video, so I'll keep it like that. Okay, so what I have at the moment, I have get pod. Oh God, I don't think I want to do that. That's the restart for Cilium. So what I found out is that when you make a Kubernetes cluster, it needs a way to talk between the different machines. So you have to give it a CNI provider, it's called. Cilium is one of them, and it's the one that's given me the most success. So it was just the recommended one online. Never mind that Tomoya talked about it in his talk. It was the best one. So I have multiple times set up my machine from scratch. So I've gotten pretty quick at it. And what I can do is I can get a node running. I can show pod. I wanted to show the list of pods, but I didn't want that command. Sorry, get all KubeEdge. Okay, so this is the command in the instructions that show that the Cloud Core is running. So I have the Cloud Core up and running. I also, Giovanni, do you remember the command to just show what nodes in general are available? I think it's get pod.
kubectl get nodes.
Kubectl get nodes. Aha, yes, okay, so here I've got my control plane, which is the master EC2 instance. And then I also have a second EC2 instance here, which is just meant to be a cloud instance to prove that all the networking work correctly, right? So the master instance has an elastic IP assigned, which is essentially a fixed IP address that you can pass between machines. So it is attached to my master node, which means that if I reboot, I'm not assigned a new IP address and suddenly everything forgets how to talk to everything else. So elastic IP attached to the master instance, I have a worker instance that can connect to the master instance and is labeled as ready. And that was a big achievement for me. So the next step was trying to get the actual edge node to communicate. So I wanted to try doing the init. I think this is it, and it failed because... So I've had issues, which is that the thing that works best for me is the deprecated commands. If I try and do the correct commands that I'm given, it gets all sorts of upset. Okay, so here's the deprecated. Now, from what I know, the difference between deprecated and normal is that the normal will run everything in containers, so it's all containerized, and the deprecated will directly download and install binaries. I would rather have it as containers, but given that I've gotten further by doing deprecated, I just choose to go with that. Now, to attach another instance, an edge node, you need to get the token. Ooh, so I need this, which gives me a token, and then I can use that in a join command on the Raspberry Pi. And this will probably not work because it says it's initialized. Yeah, so I need to reset it. Okay, and then I can do a join. And then, yeah, this is actually getting further than normal. So when I don't do the deprecated init on the cloud side, it gets stuck at this stage. Check if the node name is valid, and eventually it just times out. And I actually opened a GitHub issue about this to ask them why, and I got a few suggestions, and they didn't help. So that's been stuck since. So maybe they can tell me something I'm missing. It is probably something I've done because I'm new to Kubernetes and I don't have all the networking stuff set up properly. But I think one of the things I'd like to recommend is a guide on how to set up from scratch an EC2 instance and a Raspberry Pi so that you can get an example running, because I've spent days on it and I haven't managed to do it. I think I'm getting close, but I've thought that multiple times and been wrong every time. Okay, so now we have an edge node that is marked as not ready. That might be because it's still initializing things. So what you can do is describe it. And it should tell me why it's not ready. So it says, yeah. So it gives me this error message, and that is what Cilium is meant to solve for me. So this is pretty much as far as I've got. If we leave it a little bit and it turns out to come online, then great, but I doubt it because I've gotten this far before. So
yeah, so this is where I also got stuck initially, once, or actually multiple times, and I do not have a very explicit and correct solution, but I found by reading another blog post from Tomoya, KubeEdge meets Cilium. In there, he does some additional steps.
Oh, really?
That are not in his guide for setting up KubeEdge, because you probably follow. I don't know which guide you followed, but I followed initially. I tried to follow this one. I will share the link in the chat. Initially, I tried to follow this one, which is his setup KubeEdge from the Ross_Kubernetes GitHub. But that one got me where you are. As a matter of fact, before we try anything else, inside of that same project, Tomoya has a page that is called Troubleshooting MD. And exactly the message that you're getting is written there. So let's try first this fix. Let me look for the thing, which is you're waiting for CNI plugin.
It just says restart containerd.service and retry.
Okay, so you've already tried that one,
I
right?
have not tried that. Does that mean on the edge or on the master?
I cannot find where it says. Just a second.
I'll do it on both.
Containerd service. Yeah, on the edge node, I imagine, because that's where you have the problem. So it turned out one of the things that is supposed to happen while you're using Cilium is that in your edge machine, in the directory that is called etc/CNI, there should be a Cilium file there. But I don't know if that file in my case, it didn't get created. So many times I got stuck exactly there.
Yeah, I don't have a file either. There's the net.d directory and
it's empty, right?
There's a few things, but nothing that seems relevant.
Not the Cilium. Yeah, not the Cilium thing. I will show you what I have on the working. Well, I will just copy and paste the thing. When it's working, I get so sudo cat etc CNI netd sudo ls and cat. So I have a file in there that should get created, I think, when you're using Cilium. And I ended up creating it myself because it wasn't moving forward to that. I will paste here the output of my command, and you also have that file. So you see that I have this file called etccni netd 05 cilium.conf list, and that basically tells him you have to use Cilium as a CNI. But I find it a bit of a chicken and egg problem there, because to start the pods, it wants the CNI, but the CNI itself is implemented through a pod. So I'm not really sure what should happen when it works properly.
Yeah.
So now, if you want, what you can do is you could try to create that file with that name and just copy paste that thing in there, and that should move you forward to the. You should not have that problem anymore with the CNI not being ready.
So that's what I've got in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
probably you should restart exactly the KubeEdge.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, now
2 nodes.
Twice.
So I restarted Containerd and Edge Core.
Yeah, Edge Core is the one that. Okay, so now if you look at the logs of Edge Core, you should probably, you should probably have moved forward. No, it doesn't. Oh, yeah, it's trying to do something now. Error. Okay, but I think now it moved forward, and now you're.
Failed to create a sandbox for pod Cilium.
Okay, that's a different error. It's a C group error.
I think it does have systemd set as the. Oh god, not all the possibilities. It does have Cilium. Sorry, it has systemd set, but I can double check that. There's a Cloud Core and Edge Core, so it's in etc KubeEdge config Edge Core, and then remote. Yes, the container runtime endpoint CRI Docker D. Oh, C group driver is currently set to C group FS. That seems wrong.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
Now you should restart again the Edge Core. Not ready still.
It might take a sec to start up, but yeah. Container not found in pods containers. That's a different error.
It looks like it's trying to start the containers now, at least. So we move past this CNI problem there, and I wonder if you do again the node describe thing on the other node, if you get a bit more information.
Oh,
maybe shorter.
Still the same.
Still false. Network plugin is not ready. CNI config uninitialized.
Not getting that on the Raspberry Pi. I'd be willing to give it a couple of minutes to.
Okay.
And so I don't know what this stuff is.
And this is where I was telling you. In reality, I ended up not just following Tomoya's guide there to set up KubeEdge, because it did stop. I didn't manage to move forward, and what I did was instead following his other guide that he posted in the other on the KubeEdge IO website, which I'll paste here so you can have a look at it. Because he has a blog post on the KubeEdge IO website called Enable Cilium. And that one requires additional steps that are not in the guide.
Oh, I see.
So that's quite a longer blog post. But he basically modifies quite a few things. He modifies the daemon set. for the Cilium kubelets, they're called. And then you see, there's a lot of steps. I don't know if you're looking at the link.
Yeah. Key ADM advertiser address. Okay. Also need to enable dynamic controllers. Oh, so there's a whole bunch of stuff here.
There's a whole bunch. There's a lot of steps. I had and every time you redo the cluster or undeploy things, you have to redo them. So it's network ready false, network clean not ready. Still not still doesn't like this CNI.
Yeah, same
CNI
issue.
Yeah. No.
I might just reboot it at this point.
Try rebooting and see if it does something.
We can start the edge core to join the cluster system. Okay. Driver system D token hash.
Yeah. Anyhow, I also spent a lot, an enormous amount of time on this, and I got it running once, just for things in the same subnet.
Yeah. Well, at that point, we can try and follow this blog post and see if it works.
Yeah. Now it's gonna take a little bit for the. So anyhow, if you look at the blog post there's a few things you have to do on the master node first, and then some other things you have to do on the edge node.
Yeah, let's work on that then. So we're going actually. Oh God, what just happened? There we go. Not ready, edge, fine. So we'll probably need to delete that, or maybe delete the whole cloud side of the network.
Well, no, I don't think you need to do that.
Okay.
Which operating system are you running on the RPI on the Raspberry Pi?
It should be Ubuntu.
Because I also tried it with a 2204, but no, it's a Debian.
So that would be Raspbian, presumably.
Yeah, Raspbian. Yeah. Okay, I mean, we can try it.
So we have a Cilium.
Yeah, same version I have.
Unable to install Cilium, cannot reuse a name that is in use.
Yeah, by the way, I just for the record, I didn't manage to get it running with the encryption enabled. With the encryption enabled, I even in the cloud, even in the same subnet, my nodes were not able to ping each other. So
I see.
I didn't manage to get that running with that parameter. And by the way, yes, it doesn't like that that persistent keep alive equals 60. It never likes it. So
Persistent keep alive. True.
No, I also tried it. It wants a string, but
yes.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go with that. That's fine.
So yes, now you restarted Cilium. Basically, all the pods have been restarted. But if you, yeah,
I think that error is from the RPi anyway. So
from the RPi, because it won't start them because it doesn't.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, now you have to delete the nodes.
Okay.
kubectl, well, you can.
Oh, CTL. Sorry.
kubectl, exactly. Exactly. So this one now will have gotten rid of the nodes, and then after a while, Cilium will also understand, oh, there's less nodes. I don't need to start pods over there.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to fix it.
Hi, session. Welcome in. We're trying out KubeEdge, which is a way that you can use Kubernetes to deploy containers to your edge nodes, such as Raspberry Pis powering your robot. But having a bit of a struggle getting it working, so we're trying to work together to fix it, get it going.
Wow, that's super cool. Thank you so much. Can I ask you, are you using like KubeEdge or K3s?
What's K3s?
It's a lightweight Kubernetes.
Yeah, it's a smaller Kubernetes, distributed Kubernetes.
Does it work with edge nodes? I would assume not.
Yeah, I have not tried it. So are you like using the Kubernetes or the KubeEdge for this right now?
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
I was interested, if you are using like the full Kubernetes without the for the edge nodes.
No. KubeEdge uses a lighter weight agent instead of kubelet, so it's really designed for being more lightweight than using kubelet, which would be the standard that is used by full Kubernetes or K3s.
Okay. But I think that for the cloud part of the KubeEdge, it uses the full Kubernetes, right? Or if I'm wrong?
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Yeah, sorry. I was like doing some study recently, so I wanted to just confirm on the cloud. When we use KubeEdge, we have like one cloud master and one is the edge. And for the cloud master, I think it still uses the full Kubernetes.
Yeah, it does indeed. I think you can also. I haven't tried it. I think you could even use a K3s Kubernetes setup and then try to add an edge node to it, but you would still be using what Mike would be using, which is this KubeEdge KE admin tool for adding nodes.
It's very interesting. I have doing some study recently, so I'm very interested in this.
Well, let's see if we get it running. We got it running once, and now we're trying to get it running on Mike's setup with the Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
So now you edited the Cilium. This is the daemon set that will run only on your master nodes now.
Yeah, so what I just did... Sorry, I muted to cover up my key taps. What I did... Oh, it's the DS something.
Yeah, daemon set. Yeah,
yes, exactly. Okay, yeah. So according to the instructions from the blog post, you needed to add this block in, this node affinity block. Yeah. So I just typed that out.
Indeed. That one is basically telling the scheduler that that pod should not run on the edge nodes.
Yeah. Okay, so Cloud Core is simultaneously not running and running.
The Cloud Core is running.
I'm just going to do a reboot. Yeah. This is my fallback. every time.
By the way, Mike, I didn't need to undo the KE admin reset on the master node. I actually never needed to do that.
Okay. Maybe you have more faith than me that it works.
Yeah, I just continuously try to attach the edge nodes rather than the fail to verify.
Oh, I need to tell it my kubeconfig session. Did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, sorry to disturb you again. I wanted to ask if I can, I wanted to ask one question regarding the communication for the ROS 2. Are you using DDS or some other protocols? And how is your experience with this?
So I've used DDS, but I've never had an issue with it.
Oh, nice.
So I know some people say that, you know, there's better middlewares coming. Xeno, we tried out in another call. It seemed really good, and that's been very recently released as a new middleware for ROS 2. Fast DDS and Cyclone DDS are the ones that I've used in the past, and the only reason that I've used two is because for a simulation engine, it only understood Cyclone DDS. So my issue was making the two talk with each other rather than having particular problems with one or the other. So yeah, no problems here, so I can't comment much on it. Giovanni, I don't know if you have more there.
Nice. So I was like using the Cyclone DDS, and the Wi-Fi I think is not very good. So it can sometimes discover the topics. So this kind of issues.
Oh, I see. I don't think I've had. Well, I suppose the only times I've used it has been over wired connections. No, I have run it over Wi-Fi, but it's not had any trouble with topic discovery or sending messages.
Okay.
Maybe it's a bad Wi-Fi that you're on. You could always try another middleware. Like, I imagine Xeno is pretty good. I'm biased because it's written in Rust and I love Rust, but
which one is the other one that you said? Abias?
The Z. So I'll type it in chat. So
okay, thank you so much. Yeah, sorry for the trouble.
That if you look for RMW Xeno, which stands for ROS middleware Xeno, then that's another middleware that you can opt in to use. I think it might even become a default at some point, but I couldn't say. That's
thank you so much.
No problem. I don't know what that is. Giovanni, any ideas?
That's new to me also. Client rate limited.
I have seen it once. Advertise address. Oh no, this was my command here. So advertise address, it's that. Yeah. Edge version 120. Let me check my kubeconfig is something real. It is. Okay. Let me try removing the version. I'll let it install whatever version it wants. Okay, I need to supply the kubeconfig. Yeah. Try that. Okay, now it's installing 119. I don't know if that matters, but
that's the same one I was running.
Yeah, I have noticed with the instructions that the version numbers they use are kind of all over the place.
And this time you're using not the deprecated, not the old way of starting it, right? You're really starting it as a pod this time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm doing it as I'm meant to. So I have in the past managed to start the pod running within it, but then not been able to get the Raspberry Pi to join. But when I did a deprecated init and a normal join, that worked. That was the first success I saw. But then I had the CNI config stuff, and yeah. While that works,
did you you don't have ports that are closed, I imagine, between those two machines, right? Everything is open
No,
firewall-wise.
that was one of my first issues. So unless there's something on Ubuntu blocking them, which I don't think there is, all the ports are open. My EC2 setup is everything allowed,
Okay.
any port, any source. Specifically because I didn't want that to be a problem while setting all this up. So yeah, I don't seem to be able to set up.
It still does this client rate limiter, which I've never seen.
Doesn't even have a KubeEdge config. Strange. All right. Well, let's do the non-pod version.
This will play differently with Tomoya's guide, by the way, because in Tomoya's blog post for Enable Cilium, it's also changing something of the core, cloud core, and he's doing it with the config map, but you have now a native cloud core, which is not a pod. So I imagine that's also different.
All
Let me
right.
double check what he does.
In that case, I probably shouldn't try and do that.
Yeah, but that one is the one that you were trying to do before and was getting stuck.
Yeah. Well, if it's a connection issue, then maybe this Cilium setup would sort it out anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So this is probably why, I mean, you do not have that exactly that config map because your cloud core is not running as a pod, so it's not running inside the Kubernetes container. And I don't know how you modify it if it's not in a container.
Yeah, maybe there's a.
So one of the things that you can fix to get rid of this error once and for all is that if you copy the admin part of the Kubernetes into that file. So it should be, I don't remember the path, probably. Exactly. So you just copy that sudo cp etc kubernetes admin.conf. You're already root, exactly. And you copy it into root.cube/config. Yeah, exactly. That should get rid of this error once and for all.
Yeah. I was tempted to symlink it, but
yeah, that's the other option. And now maybe you can try restarting it with as a pod, but
there we go.
okay. I don't know what it's
thinking
doing.
hard.
Yeah, it's thinking hard, and then it does usual. Failed to get the version of Kubernetes master.
I don't know if that's just because it's still starting up.
Might be. So if you just do kubectl get all, you should be able to
kubectl get all.
Yeah, so you're able to talk to the API.
There we go. Okay. Although I did fail at this stage before, so. So I imagine their Cilium support is just making this whole process easier, right?
No, actually, after you do this, you have to modify the config map for the cloud core in order to accommodate the fact that you're running Cilium. So it somehow it's more complicated because of using Cilium.
But I mean, the updates that they're making, he was talking about using Cilium, and it sounded like they were actively developing it, right?
Yeah, and also in Tomoya's guide on the ROS Kubernetes examples, there's already now the multicast part, which you need for DDS and ROS2. That one works now out of the box, and it's much more simplified. You just say, enable this multicast address for all nodes, and it does it. You still get this client rate limiter. I don't know what that is.
Oh, I've got a hyperlink. Sorry, I've got something that I've seen before, a link that I've clicked before to try and work out what it is. And this doesn't look like anything helpful. Still valid, still a valid issue, still valid, still valid. Lots of people saying still valid. +1 from last week, still valid.
So it is indeed an issue.
I think that marks the end of my attempts to work with KubeEdge permanently. I think I'm going to be wiping my issues, and the evidence will be this call and my notes on my machine for what I tried to do. Well, I think if there's anything that we can pass back to Tomoya, that would be useful. So
I think the last thing that I also needed to do, apart from the link that I've already sent you, was this last step here. I will also put it for the use of the viewers, which is the fact that once you do get it running and you have Cilium up and running and you have everything else, when you try to connect, like I did before with kubectl exec, to one of the nodes that are on the edge devices, it somehow fails. It's not able to execute, and it's not able to get there. So then to fix it, I had to use this last link that I sent you here, which basically requires you to set an IP tables rule so that you're actually able to go from the kubectl command on the master node to get into the edge nodes, into the container on the edge nodes. And if you do this one, then this IP tables rule, and this you have to set up this cloud stream and edge stream components. Don't ask me what they are, because I don't know enough about KubeEdge. But after you do that, then you're able to show the same thing I was showing at the beginning, which is you're able to execute inside any of the containers on any of the nodes, edge or master. And then it works as intended.
So yeah, I think we've seen enough to understand the power of it. One thing that I'm still curious about is Kubernetes, you specify what you want to run. So do you specify that I want one of my Explorer robots, I want one instance of this for every node of this type? Is that something you specify? Okay.
Yeah, this is exactly what you saw before with the daemon set. The daemon set is basically something that allows you to specify for every host what needs to be running on each host. And then you can also have, that's one way to start something on every host of your cluster. But there's also other ways. For instance, you can say that you might want a daemon set, and then you have some affinity rules for only deploying on things that have a LiDAR, or only on things that have a camera, or only on things that... So you can use tags and predicates to basically select what gets installed where, or what gets started where, which is exactly how Tomoya uses it, by the way. It's a very elegant way of deciding what runs where.
Yeah, that is very cool. If only we could make it work. So I think, the feedback that I'll pass to him is it would be great to have one reference guide from scratch for setting up a Raspberry Pi with some cloud instance, to allow people to try it out. Another thing from last meeting is that it would also be good if there's a way to try it without having an Edge node, or a Raspberry Pi or something, which I guess you've done.
Yes.
So that example does exist. So I don't need to give that feedback.
But I somehow still needed to combine his guide with the other guide on KubeEdge enabled Cilium and this last piece to get it all together running once. And I didn't manage to. I tried on a TurtleBot 2 with a Jetson board, and the kernel did not support extended Berkeley packet filters, so eBPF. So that didn't work. Then I tried with the Raspberry Pi 4, and that failed. Started everything. Everything was running, but the network was not meeting things. And then I tried with the TurtleBot 3. Also didn't get very far. So I really did try.
Yeah. Okay. Any other feedback to pass back to Tomoya? I'll send him a message on Rod's Discourse.
Maybe the other thing that I have doubts about is when you enable multicast, it seems you are enabling multicast with a specific multicast address for all the nodes in the Cilium network, which seems a bit more than what you would like to have. Well, I don't know if it's more than what you would like to have, but somehow it doesn't really play well with the fact that ROS requires specific multicast IP addresses, and then you have to do a cluster admin job to then be able to use those multicast addresses, which is something that a developer should do and not the cluster administrator, right? So somehow I see there's a bit of friction there.
Okay. Not gonna lie, I understood about 10% of that. So I'll message you offline to get a good summary of it that Tomoya will understand, and then we'll pass it on. We're due to end in under a minute, so last things to wrap up. Next meeting, no one is booked to come and talk to us, so it will just be a general catch up, talk about any Cloud Robotics news, talk about how the hub's going. Just more of a casual chat, and if there's not much to talk about, we can always end early. This will go on YouTube, so I think that's it. Thanks for coming. Giovanni, thank you so much for the amount of work you put into setting it up and showing us something working. I really tried and I couldn't, so it's good to have something. And seeing the power, like, it is cool when it works.
Yeah, but it was a very complicated setup. I mean, if it was easier, I would probably try to use it more often. But it seems quite flaky at the moment. So maybe we'll get more mature.
Great.